So welcome to Active Rain University. My name is Bob Stewart, as you can see there on the screen. You can find me on Twitter or Facebook at ActiveBob. And here's what I'm going to do. Every time I say that, nobody ever really says a whole lot. So today, one person that says something to me on Twitter by using the at ActiveBob, if you want to speak to me on Twitter, you can say whatever you want. You can say it's the worst class I've ever been in, the best class I've ever been in. I don't care what you say. Maybe share a piece of advice that you learned. I'm going to give one person an Active Rain t-shirt for talking to me on Twitter as we go through here and talk about blogging and getting a blog post to rank on that first page of the search engines. And when we talk about search engines, what we're really talking about is Google, or I'm going to use Google as kind of a synonym for search engine. And the reason I do that is because they're kind of the 800-pound gorilla. These same concepts will apply to get your stuff to rank in Bing or Yahoo or some of the other places out there that people might go to search, but the majority of traffic on the internet is being passed around by Google. So I'm going to use Google as a synonym for search engine. I would guess that the majority of the people on the call use Google because the majority of the people in the world are using Google to find what they're looking for online. Before I ever start a class like this, I always like to kind of give a disclaimer. I don't claim to be a search engine expert, okay? I'm not even sure what a search engine expert is, because the reality is any of us who are out there talking about these things, we're doing it based on our own experience. And my experience has been that we had a real estate company and a website that ranked very well in the search engines, and we've been able to get Active Rain to rank very well in the search engines. So we've been doing this for about the last 10 years. And so the things I'm going to share are based on our experiences over the last 10 years. I wish, like heck, that every time Google made a change to their algorithm or did some little tweak that they would send me an email and say, hey, guess what, Bob, we just changed this. But that's not what happens, right? They're always making little tweaks to try to get their consumer, which is the person going online to search, the best possible results. So we're going to talk about some ways today. It's just kind of some fundamentals that we've seen that we believe are important to make sure that you're getting into your blog posts if your goal is to get them to rank in Google. So what are we trying to accomplish? And so I want to kind of set the framework for you guys so that as we go through here, you realize that if you put this stuff into practice, it can be very beneficial to your business. And so I've got kind of a shot here of a bunch of different posts that were written by one of our Active Rain members over the last 57 months, which is a long time, right? This is Russ Ravery. He's a real estate agent out of Livonia or Northville, Michigan. He's been doing this for a while, and you'll see over time as what starts to happen is posts about very specific subject matters, and we're going to talk about what those things will be. Posts about very specific subject matters can get a lot of traffic, and we see some of the posts in here, and the portion that I have highlighted in red, that is the number of clicks each of these posts that he's written, and these are all about little subdivisions or condo complexes or waterfront type homes or whatever he's chosen to write about, and we'll talk about that. But you can see he's got, like his Bellagio neighborhood post from 7/25 of 2009, it's had 4,000 clicks on it, and even his more recent post from June of this year has had 318 clicks, and we'll talk about why these types of clicks are really valuable sorts of clicks for your business. But essentially he's got 10 blog posts, and Russ has hundreds and hundreds of blog posts of this nature, but these 10 that we're looking at right now have been responsible for 24,000 clicks to his blog, which is an average of 43 clicks per blog per month, and he's continuing to get these long after he's written the blog post. So that's what we're going to be aiming for, right? We want to end up like Russ, where a year from now we've got a bunch of great content out there that's generating clicks and traffic to us in an effort to find motivated buyers, and in some cases sellers. So let's talk about kind of a foundation and just give you a real high-level view of search engine optimization. This is, if there are search engine experts out there, the guy who created this pyramid, Rand Fishkin from SEO Moz, is someone that I would look to as an expert. But essentially what Rand is saying here is there's some components to search engine optimization, okay? At the base of this pyramid, we have content quality and accessibility, and we're going to talk today about what kind of quality content can we produce that people might be interested in, but maybe even more so, what are the things we do in a post to make sure that it's accessible to the search engines and to make sure that they are actually, when they come in and they index, or the little spiders hit our post, to index it, that we're sending them the right signals to make sure that they decide to rank that thing. Above that then is going to be keyword research and targeting. We have a class recorded at Active Rain University, and we're going to do it again live real soon, where we talk about determining and picking your keywords. But I'm going to give you guys some ideas of things that I think you should be writing about, taking the fundamentals that we'll learn and applying them to your blog. That's going to be kind of the next thing. So if I'm writing good quality content, I want to make sure I'm writing it and it's kind of targeting things that people are actually looking for. Link building, 2 weeks from now, we're going to talk about links, and links are still a pretty important part of search engine optimization. It's being eroded just a little bit by that top piece of the pyramid, which is social, or the concept of social sharing and social cues, and search engines looking at things like how many times is something retweeted, or how many times is it shared on Google Plus or +1, to these different kind of social indicators that are helping the search engines determine what to rank. So that's, again, it's a 30,000-foot view of search engine optimization. We're really going to dive into kind of those bottom two pieces today. So there's a concept that I want to make sure that everybody kind of understands, and it will be the basis for what we talk about throughout the rest of this class, and it's called the long tail. And I think the easiest way to explain the long tail, or at least for me to understand it, is in terms of how Amazon sells books. And so when Amazon set out to sell books, at that point, it was more common that if you were going to buy a book, you would go into your local Barnes & Noble or Border Books or something of that nature. Well, what happens is that the long tail says in any given sector, let's say it's books, you're going to have less than 1% of the available inventory makes up 30% of the sales. So the Harry Potter book, the John Grisham book, these books that sell, millions of copies or hundreds of thousands of copies, those top 10 books will make up 30% of the sales. All of the rest of the books, all of the 99.99% of the other books make up 70% of the sales, but any one of those books doesn't sell very often. Okay, so when Amazon decided to start selling books, they said, look, there's 99%, 99.99% of the rest of the book titles out there that somebody might want to buy, but any one of those books might sell 5 times, might sell 15 times, might sell 40 times a year. It doesn't make sense for Barnes & Noble or Border Books to stock those books on their shelves, but Amazon realized that the collective of all of those books makes for a huge amount of the sales. And so Amazon now is, they're the #1 bookseller. Border Books is bankrupt, right? Barnes & Noble, I don't know how they're still hanging on by a thread, but they are. And this concept of the long tail has really been exacerbated by the internet. And as we look at search, this same thing applies, and especially as we look at real estate search. And the slide I have up there is for shoes, right? The term shoes or men's shoes, those sorts of phrases get searched for with much higher volume, okay? But the cumulative of those top 10 phrases still is only going to make up about 30% of that search volume. On the long tail, we have literally, it's almost an infinite number of ways that people could potentially search for shoes. The example there is red Nike men's running shoes, right? It could be yellow Puma women's running, right? There's all these different variations of ways they can search. Now, any one of those search terms, like red Nike men's running shoes, does not get searched for nearly as often as men's shoes. But the cumulative of all of those other ways somebody can search for shoes makes up a larger percentage of the search queries. So the same thing applies to real estate. And in real estate, in any one of your markets, there's going to be about 6 to 8 ways that somebody can search using shorter phrases. So let's take Seattle. That's where I'm sitting at right now. You're going to have things like homes for sale in Seattle, Seattle condos for sale, Seattle houses, Seattle real estate, right? These more common phrases that get searched for with more frequency. Any one phrase might get searched for 50,000 times a month. Seattle real estate's getting searched for. On the long tail, we literally, again, have this infinite number of phrases that somebody can search for, okay, where any one of those phrases isn't getting searched for as often, but what we find in real estate is these long tail phrases. So instead of condos in Seattle, maybe it's the Bravern condos in Belltown, Seattle, right? That's a very long tail phrase, but somebody's searching for that phrase, especially as it relates to like for sale. So the Bravern condos for sale, Seattle. That phrase isn't going to be searched for as often, but one of you guys are unmuted. Carrie, Michelle, somebody just got unmuted. Mute yourself, please. Those phrases, thank you. Those phrases bring us somebody that's a heck of a lot closer to actually buying. So if you look at the bottom of this chart, out on the long tail, we have a much higher probability of conversion. We're going to be targeting somebody that's closer to actually doing something. The guy that wants the Bravern condos for sale in Seattle is a heck of a lot closer to buying something. He wants to actually buy in that building than the person who searches Seattle condos. So keep that in mind as we go through here, and we'll really impress upon this again, and we saw it in Russ's examples there, and we'll see it again here in a little bit. So let's dive in and talk about some of these fundamentals, okay? These are kind of the four main points that we're going to make sure we get into every blog post if our goal is to get it to rank in the search engines. The first one, 200 to 500 words, okay? So we're going to be writing pieces of content that are 200 to 500 words. We're going to pick a keyword phrase for the title of our blog post. We're going to repeat that keyword phrase or that title at the start and the end of our content, and then we're going to use our keyword phrase 3 to 5 times throughout the body of the post. I'm going to go through 2, 3, and 4 individually. Number one, 200 to 500 words. We see stuff on ActiveRain all the time that's under 200 words that ranks in the search engines. But every time you write a piece of content, you're always kind of serving two masters. On one side, you have the search engine, right? And can we get this to rank? But maybe the more important thing, especially once we know that we can get things to rank, the more important thing becomes the person who actually does the query and lands on our content. And I would actually challenge anybody on this call to prove to me that you're an expert on some subject in under 200 words. It's really challenging. Okay, so if somebody's looking for information about the Bravern condos for sale, and they find your blog post, and you've put up 100 words, and it's just kind of, yeah, they're for sale, and here's a link to my website to find them, like, that's not going to prove to them that you're an expert or you're the person that they want to reach out to. So 200 to 500 words becomes kind of this sweet spot. Can you go over 500? Absolutely. And in fact, with some of the more recent Google updates, Panda and Penguin, they're looking at the value of the content, and they're really trying to put value on the content. And so, you know, the more content, in some cases, the better. But you just want to you want to make sure that at the end of the day, your blog post demonstrates to the person visiting it that you're an expert. And we'll talk in a little bit about, you know, why that becomes important as it relates to keeping your rankings over a long period of time. So pick a keyword phrase for the title of your blog post. So a couple things to consider with this. So we're talking about like what we're going to put in the title line. What is going to be the title of our blog post? Any one blog post or page on the internet is really designed to rank for one phrase. Now, you're going to get trailing searches. You're going to get other stuff, other ways people search that will allow them to find your content. It's not going to be just based on the exact keyword phrase that you have, but each post is going to be designed to target one keyword phrase. Okay? I'll give you some examples in a minute. You might consider different variations though. Okay, so different search queries will return different results, but the further you get out on the long tail, the less this applies, because there's not a lot of content being written on the long tail. So if I'm writing about a particular condo complex, I might get search traffic for somebody that searched for the Bravern condos for sale. I might get Bravern condominiums for sale. I might get the Bravern condos, how many sold this month. There's all these different ways that people could still find my long tail piece of content, but I might consider different variations. When I say different variations, like the variation would be Bravern condos for sale, Seattle, or condos for sale in the Bravern, Seattle. Right? That's a different variation. I would just write one post now, maybe 9 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now, I've run out of ideas. I may come back and look at some of my previous posts that have gotten good traffic, and choose to vary up the keyword phrase a little bit. Geography. We're almost always going to have a geography, and I realize kind of the paradox there of almost and then always in parentheses, but if you're not writing a post with the aim to be to rank in the search engines, you don't necessarily need geography. Maybe you're writing the post to send off to one of your clients, or maybe you're writing the post to your peers, right? In those instances, you may not want to use geography, but in almost all other cases where your goal is to get it to rank in the search engines, I would encourage you to include some kind of a geographical component. And then as we think about picking a keyword phrase for our title, we want to understand this concept of geography plus subject. And what that means is almost all search, and especially as it relates to real estate, has subject matter and geography. And let's take a look at what I mean. I'll give you some examples on the next slide. But when we're thinking about geography plus subject, so homes for sale in Seattle, right? What's our subject matter? Homes for sale. What's our geography? Seattle, right? As it relates to the long tail and getting our content to rank, you need to think of it in this term. The more precise your geography, the less precise your subject matter needs to be. The more precise your subject matter, the less precise your geography needs to be. Like, huh? What? Let's look. So, what are some more specific subject matters that we could have, right? Homes for sale under 300,000. That would be our subject matter in Seattle. So we've still got this broad geography, our entire city, but we're targeting a very specific subject matter. So in this case, we're getting more specific with our subject matter, which lets us be less specific with our geography. Homes for sale in Seattle under 300,000, right? Homes for sale in Seattle with a mother-in-law suite. Homes for sale in Redmond near Microsoft, right? So the subject matter is homes for sale near Microsoft. Redmond is still our geography, okay? More specific geography, and the easiest ways to get more specific with our geography is to focus on specific condo complexes and specific subdivisions. And I'm going to show you guys this as we go live here in a little bit. This sort of content, the Amazons of our industry, which are who? The Zillows, the Trulias, the realestate.coms, the realtor.coms, the sites that show up when you search homes for sale in your city, right? Those big box sites, they do not have content at this hyper local level, right? Bravern condos for sale, Seattle. So condos for sale is our subject matter, but the Bravern in Seattle is our geography, right? Homes for sale in Hunters Ridge, Saline. Hunters Ridge is a subdivision in Saline, Michigan. A pretty general subject matter for our industry, homes for sale, right? A much more specific geography. So those are the two ways that we want to think about titling and picking keyword phrases and things that we are going to write about. Again, I have a whole class where I do an hour on these concepts of determining what your keyword phrase is going to be. So I'll have Carrie send you guys the link to that video at the end of the class. So the second component. So the first component was 200, 500 words. This is going to be the third one, actually. The second one was pick a keyword phrase for the title of our blog post. Okay. The third thing we're going to consider every time we write one is we're going to repeat the title at the start and at the end of the post. And the reason we have you do this on ActiveRain is because when the search engine pulls the result out of ActiveRain, the portion that you see in the blue there, the portion you can click on in Google, that's going to be based on the title of your blog post, and the title of your blog post subsequently becomes the page title of that particular page. We have you repeat that title at the start of your post because it becomes a part of the page description. So the portion in there that we see that's not clickable, the gray or the black text, that is your page description. On an ActiveRain post, it will come out of the first 140 to 160 characters of the content. So it's important we get our keyword phrase somewhere in that first 140 to 160 characters. And a lot of times what you'll see people do is they'll just state it as like a statement instead of actually trying to get it into the sentence. Either way is fine. I have you put it at the end for two reasons, I guess. The first reason is because we're going to try to get that exact keyword phrase that we used in the title in the body of our post 3 to 5 times. And if we get it in the first sentence, and we get it in the last sentence, then it's pretty easy for us to get that keyword phrase somewhere else in the body of the post one time. Okay? The other reason I have you do it is because I had a really good English teacher in 8th grade. 8th grade, was it? 7th grade, maybe? You start to learn about writing 5-paragraph essays, and before that I was a horrible English student. This teacher turned me around, and they taught me, when you write a 5-paragraph essay, what are you going to do? In the first paragraph, you tell them what you're going to tell them about, and then you spend 3 paragraphs telling them about it, and then the last paragraph, you tell them what you just told them about. It's a similar concept here, right? If we start off by restating our keyword phrase, hey, this is what you're going to learn about, consumer and search engine, and then at the end, we just kind of recap it for them, but again, it's that real easy place to get it in there as we work towards getting that keyword phrase in the body of our content 3 to 5 times. Some things to consider for that. Does the body have similar content? And it's almost impossible to write a blog post where the rest of the content in there doesn't end up being similar. Okay? Like if I'm writing about the Bravern condos, right, what other kind of similar content would you expect to find in there? Well, I'm going to talk about what's nearby, the community. I'm going to talk about what's in the building. You're going to see words in there like homeowners association. You're going to see words like bedrooms and bathrooms and square footage, and right, similar content. And as the search engine looks at a piece of content, if they realize the keyword is the Bravern condos for sale in Seattle, right, what kind of similar content would they expect to find on there? Unless I'm a spammer, it's almost impossible for me to write something where the content doesn't end up being similar to the keyword phrase, right? So that one's kind of an obvious. Making sure that your keyword phrase ends up being the most common phrase on the page. So if you use your keyword phrase 5 times, there's a pretty good chance it's going to end up being the most common phrase on the page. But you want to make sure that is the case. And then you want to get that keyword phrase, that Bravern condos for sale in Seattle. You want to get it in the post exactly as you used it in the page title 3 to 5 times. Okay, so let's go live. Let's look at some examples here. Okay, so what we're looking at right now is Google Analytics, and I actually pulled this up last night, so it's based on essentially a 30-day time span up until Tuesday. Okay, so it's the last 30 days, and we're going to look at queries that have been done where the person used the word subdivision. Right? And there's all kinds of these queries in here. Now you'll see these are long tail sorts of queries, right? The Wildwood subdivision in Career, Mississippi. It was only done 6 times, but this person's looking for something pretty particular and pretty specific. The example that I'm going to show you guys is the Chadbourne subdivision in Garner, NC. So in the course of the last 30 days, this exact version of the keyword phrase was searched for 8 times, and 75% of those were new. So 6 brand new people landed on this Active Rain post that I'm going to show you using this keyword query. All right? It's not 50,000 clicks, right? Like homes for sale in Garner, NC, that might be getting 5, 6, 8, 10,000 searches a month. Chadbourne subdivision Garner, NC is getting way fewer, but it's a much more targeted audience, right? It's somebody that's looking for something very specific. So let's go over here, and I always switch between Firefox and Safari when I'm showing demonstrations of search queries, and the reason I do that is because if you don't start with a clean browser when you're checking your search results are going to be impacted by what you've done in the past and what Google knows about you. So over here on Safari, or Firefox, I'm sorry, I'm actually logged into my Google account, right? They know who I am. I very rarely clear my cache or reset my cookies. So they've got all this information about me as a searcher and my past behavior that could get them manipulating my search results because they think I like certain sites. So when I do searches, I use Safari. And before I did these searches, I come up here and I reset Safari, right? I clear everything out. I just remove everything. I don't want Google knowing who I am or what I'm doing. And a lot of times when I'm using it to find where I rank and where different things rank, I'll use private browsing because that way they can't even get a history of this particular session that I'm in. So here's the search, Chadbourne subdivision, Garner, NC. We see this result from Penny showing up in the 2nd position right here. Okay, the post itself, here's the post. And this isn't the best example. I'm going to show you guys kind of an example of just what a post would end up looking like. And we're actually going to have a class tomorrow where the whole class is about how do I write one of these posts in the most ridiculously good format. Today I'm going to give you the concepts. Tomorrow I'll show you the actual application of it. But here's a post, right? She's got the concept down because she's writing about a specific subdivision in her market. Now she did restate close. She didn't get it exactly the same as it is in here. And in fact, her title's probably a little bit long, right? She's got a lot of information in there. She's got the flowery description, beautiful all brick homes. You can do that kind of thing, but if you choose to do it at the end of the title, right? They're going to give the most precedence to the keywords that are at the beginning of the title. So she's got Chadbourne and Gardner NC. That's one of the reasons that she's ranking for a search of the nature that we did. And then we go down here and we see kind of what did she write about. So she's got flowery description. And again, I'm going to show you guys kind of a template. And tomorrow's class we'll actually give the template out. She's got like what's in the neighborhood, kind of the home prices, some averages, the range of the deals. Down here a little bit lower, she's got kind of what's going on in the community. She's got some chances for us to click to find like lots for sale, or I think maybe even down lower she's got a chance for us to find, I don't know, homes for sale. When she did this was originally like a spec development. Fine. Okay? But she's writing about it at this very hyper-local level. Now, she doesn't get her exact keyword phrase in here 3 to 5 times, I don't believe, being Chadbourne and Gardner NC, right? We wanted to look and see, did she get that exact keyword phrase in there? There it is once. See, that's it. She's only got it in there once. And that could be the difference between her ranking in this first position and her ranking in the second position. And the difference there, she got, eight clicks this month on that keyword phrase. If in that first position, she might have gotten 20, right? So these little small differences and changes that we can make in our post can be the difference between us ranking 4th and 1st, or 2nd and 1st, or 5th and 2nd, right? So we really want to make sure that we're cognizant of these kind of fundamentals. So let's go over and take a look at this post in her blog. And so I'm in the statistics portion of Penny's Active Rain account. And you guys could all get there by clicking on your My Home and then clicking Traffic. And so we're back, and we're back a long ways, right? We're back to post that she wrote in 2008, but I want you guys to take a look at this post. This post had 16,000 clicks on it. 16,000. Like what? This is 4 years later, 48. It's 49 months. Let's say it's 50 months. So it's getting still an average of, what is my math there? A lot, right? 16,000 divided by 50 is a lot. 80, I think, 80 clicks, 800, I don't know. It's a lot. I'm not very good at math these days. I was on the math team once upon a time, but now I need a calculator, right? It's getting a lot of traffic. Now, let's go back and look, because we saw that there was only those, it was only 8 here. So what are some of the other ways that they're finding it? Well, here's the actual 19 visits that used the Chadbourne, right? And there might be some other ways. They might have been looking for like a community with brick homes in her city, or because she did have some other keywords in there. But here's the 19 ways in the last 30 days that somebody has found this post, right? This is a pretty good one. Homes for sale in the Chadbourne subdivision, Gardner NC. Like, I want that person on my website, and when they land there, I want them convinced that I'm the expert, and if they're going to buy a house here, they want to use me. Excuse me. Right? Can you guys see this long tail kind of coming to life? Can you see all the crazy ways somebody might search for something to find you? Let's look at some examples around condos. So we talked about, we're going to write about specific subdivisions in our marketplace. Okay? These things get a ton of traffic. We saw it from Russ at the beginning. We're also going to write about specific condo complexes. Okay? So here's an example, and again, these are any queries in the last 30 days that use the word condo. And so we, as we get down here, we see some real interesting ones. Baker's Bay condos for sale, Sunwood condos. I mean, there's just all kinds. Park Place condos in Austin, the Mill Point condos in Edison. We just see all these kinds of searches that are being done. Let's go off here and look at the Sunwood condos in Shelton, Connecticut. Again, back to Safari because I want clean, good results. Sunwood condos, Shelton CT. Here's my post, right? Sunwood condominiums in Shelton CT. Okay, you can see where the search engine has actually highlighted the words in here, so she does get her keyword phrase repeated in her description, or those first 160 characters. Here's the post itself. Okay, so she restates the title, right? She gets down here, she uses the keyword phrase again, or she gets close. Here's the keyword phrase that maybe second time, right? Maybe down here at the end somewhere, she should have that keyword phrase in here exactly a third time. Okay, what kind of information does she have in here? Flowery description, right? What's the units like, right? What are some of the amenities? What's going on nearby, right? This is a really important one here, this link. And 2 weeks from now, we're really going to hammer in on this link. But having this link in here is important, and in just a minute, I'll kind of tell you why. So there's her post, right? Again, we can come over here and look. Actually, let's do this. Let's look and see, because there's lots of other ways. Oh, no, that's Aspetuck. We'll get to that in a second. So here's her traffic stats. So we're logged in here as Barbara. We went to her traffic. We're back here now looking at the Sunwood condos, and we can see, right, 2,790 in the last 2.5 years, and those are, you know, still, if you were to do the math on that, it's 40 or 50 clicks a month that she's getting to this very particular sort of a post. So I want to show you this one up here, the Aspetuck Village condominiums in Shelton, 4,000, right? What starts to happen is you realize that if you do these sorts of posts for, you know, and you cover your market, right? Let's say you were to write 2 of these a week, right? 6 months from now, you'd have 50 of these sorts of posts, and they're all averaging, you know, between 30 and 50 clicks a month, and you start to see that cumulative effect of the long tail really come to light. This one's had 4,000 clicks on it. So let's look at Aspetuck. What are some of the other ways that somebody found Aspetuck? And look at this. This is, again, just the last 30 days. And these are all very long tail sorts of searches, but look how many there are here, right? Here was the one that, where's the one we saw? Here it was, Aspetuck condos, Shelton CT. It was somewhere in there. Oh, no, we weren't even looking at that. I'm sorry. Look at this. Aspetuck Shelton for sale. Aspetuck Village condos, Shelton, Connecticut for sale. Like, I want these people on my site. You want these people on your site, right? You want them looking at your blog. Because if they're doing these sorts of searches, do you think they're closer or further from buying than somebody that just wants a condo in Shelton, Connecticut? These people know what they want, right? They're very specific in their search queries, and therefore they're going to be somebody that's a lot closer to actually buying than the average searcher, than the average homes or condos in Shelton, right? And again, we see her Aspetuck Village condominiums, and tons of variables. She would be in that first position there. And this is probably going to look similar. Look at this. It's very similar to what she'd written about for Sunwood, right? Because she's kind of got a formula here. And again, in that class tomorrow, we're going to give you guys kind of what this formula is so that you don't have to sit down every time you want to write about a condo complex and think to yourself, like, well, what do I write about? I mean, you'll need to know the information, but we'll lay it out for you in a fashion, you know, flowery description. What are the units like? What's the complex like? What's nearby? Okay. So let's talk about a couple of other kind of commonly missed search engine optimization opportunities, or some additional things that we might want to get into our posts to reinforce those first kind of 4 fundamentals. Photo metadata. That sounds like a ridiculously technical term. It's not. Okay, we're just talking about the image description that you give the pictures that you upload. So whenever you upload a photo on ActiveRain, you have the chance to give it an image description and a title. The image description becomes what the search engines identify that as being a picture of. Okay? So if you were writing about the Crossing townhomes, right, you'd want to give it an image description if that's what the photo was of. I'd hope that's what the photo was of if that's what you were writing about, right? You'd want to tell the search engines, this is what this is a picture of. The title becomes a part of the keywords that show up on the page when a search engine indexes the page. Huh? Okay, what that means is, let's say that I wrote my post, but I could only get my exact keyword phrase in there 4 times, and I really wanted to get it in there that 5th time, but it just didn't fit in the flow of the content anywhere. What I could do is I could add that keyword phrase to the title line on one of my photos. Then when the search engine came in there and searched, they're going to see the image description, and that's what Google Images is going to use to determine if they'll return your photo in an image results search. But they're also going to see that title, and they're going to see that as a 5th use of that keyword phrase. All of these kind of other things are just going to give the search engine some additional signals that say, hey, guess what? This post is all about the same thing, and I'm trying to send you all the good signals for you to get me to rank based on the keyword phrase that I chose. So use the photo descriptions and the titles for your images. An anchor text link using your keyword phrase. So let's go back and look. Essentially what this means is I'm going to create a link somewhere in my post where the words I created the link out of, the anchor text, are the same words that I used in the title of my blog post, my same keyword phrase. Okay? So Aspetuck Village Condominiums in Shelton. So down here, she gets her link in here. Aspetuck Village Condos, Shelton CT, right? It's not exactly the same. I would encourage her to have the link be exactly the same. And so a way she could have done that, she could have said, click here to find rental or for sale condos in the Aspetuck Village Condos, Shelton CT, right? Where the words Aspetuck Village Condos or even condominiums, Shelton CT became the anchor text, and she kind of got all those other words just out here in the regular text. Right? So this is very important. Now, where is this going to link to? Well, come on, it's going to link back to our website where hopefully we can give them a list of the properties that are available for sale in that particular area that we're writing about. Okay, in our links class 2 weeks from now, we're really going to hammer this home. I'm just going to beat it into your head. Okay, and our last kind of additional thing that we can do is having additional media-rich content and then making sure we have a good professional layout. And over time, what will start to happen is your stuff will rank in the search engines. And as people click on it and land on the page, well, the very first thing that happens when they land on that page is they're evaluating you, probably subconsciously, whether they know it or not, and saying, is this professional looking? Like, does this information I'm getting on the internet look like it's something credible? So we really want to make sure that our layout is good, clean, and professional. In last week's class, we talked about layout, right? But what will happen is when they land there, the more often they just leave right away or close the screen or go back to the search engine and they don't spend any time on our page, that sends a signal to the search engine, right? What signal is that? This wasn't a very good result for the query I just did. If they stay on there, they stay engaged on the page, it's professional, they read the content, maybe there's a video or a custom map or something additional in there to kind of draw them in and get them to stay on that page for longer, that's going to send a better signal back to the search engines, right? That's going to send the signal that, hey, thank you for this this result to my query. It's what I wanted, right? And the longer we can engage people and get them to stay on our content, the better off we're going to be able to do over the long term of having our content out there, right? Google's not going to minimize us because it seems that the searchers landing there didn't really appreciate the content they got. Right? It's going to be the opposite of that. Okay, so now what? Well, get a blog, and so if you're a WordPress blogger, I mean, obviously I care where you blog. I'd love that all of you were blogging on Active Rain, but you can use these same principles across wherever you're blogging. Now, on Active Rain, to get your content to rank in the search engine, you have to be a Rainmaker, and if you're not one of those, in just a minute here, I'm going to show you the nice deal that you can get to kind of get started doing this stuff on Active Rain if it seems like it might be interesting to you, right? If it seems like you might want to get to where Russ is, to where every month he's got, and like I said, it's not just 10 blogs for Russ. It's literally hundreds of blogs he has out there where he's covered every subdivision, every condo complex, every variation of keyword phrases he can think of, right? And all of these posts are generating 40 to 50 clicks a month. And the cumulative of that over time becomes this just substantial amount of traffic where he's getting in front of so many interested buyers and sellers, people that are much closer to actually doing something than somebody that just goes condos in Northville, Michigan, right? They're looking for the Country Club Village condos. They're looking for a condo for sale in the Country Club Village condos. You guys actually have some homework. Oh, what? Boo. Homework? Yep. Homework. And Carrie's going to, she's mad at me already. I can see her steaming. I can't see her, but I know she is. She likes me to call it calls to action or what? Action items. Action items. It's homework, okay? You guys are going to do it because you just sat here and listened to me for an hour, and if you don't do it sometime soon, you're going to forget it, right? So you got the homework emailed out to you this morning, but you create a list of 10 long-tail keyword phrases, right? I want you to write one piece of content. I'd like you to do it sooner rather than later, okay? You've got a group that you guys are a part of. You can post that to the group. You can ask for feedback on it, right? This fourth one, learn if your website is equipped to generate leads. There's kind of a process that we're going through here, right? We're going to learn how to write good content. We're going to learn, just professional. It looks presentable, right? We did that last week. This week, we're talking about, okay, what do I want to write about? And then what are some of the fundamentals I get into my post? The goal of that is to get traffic to your blog, just like Russ had. We saw it, right? Excuse me. From that point, then, we want to make sure that if somebody doesn't want to pick the phone up and call us because we absolutely convinced them we're the expert and there's no way they're going to work with anybody else but us, so they pick the phone up. If that's not the case, we need to make sure that at the end of the day, we can get listings in front of these people and potentially convert them into a prospect or a lead for our business. Next week, we're really going to focus on that, or 2 weeks from now, I'm sorry. And then we give you this checklist, and I believe this is in the homework. So again, you got email about homework. The homework is actually located in the group, so we sent you a link to a group. You can get back there, get this checklist will be a part of that homework. And again, it's just if you're going to sit down and write the content, you might as well have something to make sure, did I get all these things in there? There's one in there, include H1 and H2 header tags. Carrie's going to send you out in the chat area of your GoToWebinar control panel a link for H1 and H2 videos and how you can actually, or H1 and H2 header tags, how you can actually get those into your content, okay? One last little piece that I didn't really cover here is sharing your content on social media, right? If you were never going to share your content anywhere but one place, I would share it on Google+. If you don't have a Google+ account, we've kind of been just hammering on Google+ on Active Rain over the last few weeks, but you can do that really easily on your blog posts. In fact, today, I think this started yesterday, but you have a chance after it's posted to do this. I believe right now, the next time you post a blog, when you actually post it, something's going to pop up at you and it's going to say, hey, would you like to share these? Now you can just hit X and not, but you're going to have a chance, you're going to be prompted to share these things across your social networks. Like I talked about at the very beginning, social sharing is starting to play a more prominent role in how search engines are returning things, especially as it relates to Google+. If you guys you're not familiar with Google+ at all, you could, I guess, check out our YouTube, youtube.com/Active Rain Network, and Carrie will send you the link for that. We have a video on here. Somewhere back here was using Google+ to increase your traffic. Whoa, look at that. Let me see Carrie's. There's Carrie's pretty face right there. But you've got a chance to go back and, you know what? There's all kinds of videos on here, okay? So you can go back, look at some of this stuff. Okay, so we're getting close to being done here. Okay, if you're not a Rainmaker right now, we've got this promo where you can get a Rainmaker membership. I believe it's for 3 months for $1. So that's definitely enough time for you to try this out. Because look, if you're not going to do this, first off, I don't know why the heck you just spent the last hour with me. You wasted your time, okay? But maybe more important, some people, you're just not going to be cut out for this, okay? you're going to get in there, you're going to do it. After a month, you're going to be like, I didn't get $1 million closing. This is just not for me. Hopefully after 3 months, and I'm not necessarily saying, look, you're going to have millions of visitors and people are going to be beating down your door to try to, but it will start to show you that, yes, I can get my content ranking in the search engine. And I think that's the most important step and the kind of that first step. And again, in order on Active Rain for your content to be public and indexed by the search engines, you have to be a Rainmaker. Carrie just chatted out that promo for you guys to take a look at. Let's go in here and look at some questions. So I'm done. I just went 48 minutes, nose sniffles and the whole 9 yards. I think at one point I blew my nose. I apologize for that. Let's see what kind of questions